So it's my pleasure this morning to introduce our guest speaker. The first time I met him was in Santa Fe, New Mexico. He is a neuropsychologist. His studies were shown in What the Bleep. I just attended a day-and-a-half workshop with him. It's fabulous. He does EFT, emotional freedom technique, combined with quantum physics, heart math. We're going to do this amazing meditation that is just going to open you up to the essence of the truth of who you are, and he uses Ho'oponopono. So it is quite an experience, and I am so honored to introduce Dr. Garland Landrith.
She looked like she wanted to hug. So, all right. So I want to just start off with a little meditation, and I will start off by putting our right hand over our heart and the left hand over that. And we'll start by taking a deep breath into the heart. And releasing. Another deep breath into the heart. And releasing. Another deep breath into the heart. And releasing. Now I want you to think of someone or something you feel love towards. It could be a little munchkins, your doggy, your kitties, your significant other. Feel that love. Releasing it into a flow by letting thoughts come and go, including noises. My spirit is awakening. I feel my love flowing. I am flowing. I am flowing throughout the whole universe. I'm connected with the stars and the galaxies. I've got stardust in my soul. The same divine love that created this whole universe is flowing within me. I'm being held in the arms of God. I am safe. Thank you, God. I've been truly blessed. I love you. Let's take a deep breath into the heart. And releasing. Another deep breath in the heart. And releasing. Another deep breath into the heart. And releasing. Another deep breath into the heart. And releasing. You might wiggle your toes a little bit. If you want to stretch. And then give yourself another 15 seconds and then slowly open your eyes. I'm very excited to be here. You know, when I first met Reverend Gale, he was up in Santa Fe, and I walked in the door and I said, this woman sparkles in a cosmic way. So when I heard she had a place out here called Global, I just immediately perked up. A global consciousness type thing. I just love that idea, because that's what kind of like we're being taught today. And yesterday I had a chance to meet most of your practitioners, and what an amazing group of people. So yeah, I was very honored to work with them yesterday. And you have a great group of consciousness, a collective consciousness in this church is excellent. And the music, I'll tell you, that's pretty amazing. The music was done perfectly for meditation. So now, today we're going to talk about miracles. And scientists hate the idea of miracles, because when a miracle happens, a law of nature gets violated. But the truth of the matter is, miracles happen all the time in quantum physics. Let me give you some examples. We know a law of nature is you can't have an object in two different places at the same time, right? Wrong. If an electron's circling an atom and nobody watches it, it magically turns into energy waves. So not only is the electron in two different places, it's everywhere at once, because it's not located in time and space. Okay? Another one, this is a big one. This is Einstein's law of relativity. The main principle upon which that is built is the idea that nothing can go faster than the speed of light. In 1931, two very famous physicists by the name of Schrödinger and Heidelberg proposed a theory called quantum entanglement. In quantum entanglement, you have a couple electrons circling an atom. They become quantumly entangled, which means beyond time-space limitations. So even if you were to separate them by 1,000,000 miles, if you pushed on one, the other one would instantaneously go in the exact same direction. So instantaneously that they'd be communicating faster than the speed of light. So Einstein hated this theory. At one point he called it spooky action at a distance. Now, in 1981, this is the way physicists kind of debate. In 1981, Einstein was proven wrong. Then they redid the experiment 2 years ago in the new cyclotron in Switzerland, and they found that not only did two electrons communicate faster than the speed of light, it was 10,000 times faster than the speed of light. If you're going to break a law of nature, you might as well go all the way. Right. So the spookiest thing in physics is probably the most complicated, but we're going to try to tackle it just for a minute. Those of you who saw the movie, and most of you probably did, the movie went to bleep. They were shooting little balls of electrons through that slit. It's called the double slit experiment, classic. It's been done 1,000,000 times. And they were all lining up in a nice line in the back wall. And there was an eye watching. The significant part of this is the eye watching, because the eye watching represents consciousness. Okay? As long as the eye was watching, there was one line. When the eye went away, there was 16 lines. So what happened? They talked about an interference, and it didn't really make much sense in the movie, but I'm going to try to hopefully make it a little more clear. If it's still confusing, don't worry about it. It's not that important. Well, it's kind of important, but who knows what's really important. Anyway, let's give you this example. Let's say you drop a couple pebbles in a pond. It produces waves. The waves hit each other, then they produce waves. Then they hit each other, and pretty soon you got 16 waves. That's exactly what happened. What they discovered was energy and matter are the same. The only thing that's different is that consciousness collapses energy waves into particles. Without consciousness, you can't have a universe, you can't have galaxies, you can't have people. Now, who is the consciousness that's creating this universe? I think physics discovered God. Roundabout way, they won't say it like that, but that's the implication. Now, here's the interesting thing. We have consciousness. So the next question is our consciousness the same as that consciousness that created this whole universe? That's the question. And the research, by the way, proves it. Over 1,000 studies I'm going to cite right now, in general. No, I'm not going to do 1,000 studies. But we're going to talk about, I like to separate them into 4 different groups. The first one's a prayer group. The second one is the group on meditation, the one I was involved with. The third group is the group where we know things before they happen. And the fourth group is the research that shows that consciousness can even influence machines. Far out stuff. So let's start with the prayer, because that's kind of basic to this church and to Science of Mind. And in the first studies done in the 1980s, they'd pray for one ward of the hospital. They wouldn't pray for the surrounding wards. And the ward they prayed for would get well faster, have less need for antibiotics, better quality of life, and in some cases less deaths than the surrounding wards. Now, most scientists poo-pooed this early research. They said that what was really going on here was the people doing the research happened to pick the ward of the hospital that had the best doctors and the best nurses. And they were really good at figuring out which of the wards had the best doctors and best nurses, because it happened every time. So finally, in 1988, they did a double-blind study of prayer. Now, that's the Cadillac version of research. Now, in double-blind, You randomly assign people to groups. They're interspaced throughout the whole hospital. And you pray for one group. You don't pray for the other group. And of course, it solves the problem of one ward having better doctors. And guess what? Same results as the other research. They did hundreds of these studies. And finally, they decided that there is something to prayer. I'm talking about scientists. And they decided that what was really going on with prayer was that it was positive thinking. Now, is prayer positive thinking, or is it something else? Interesting. We all know the value of positive thinking. You can't be coming to this wonderful church with Reverend Gale and not know the value of positive thinking. But is prayer just positive thinking, or is it something else? Interesting question. So I did a study, 1999, one of my favorite prayer studies. It was a triple-blind study. Now, what's a triple-blind study? Well, let's say I'm sick, and Reverend Gale's praying for me, and I get well faster because she's praying for me. But she doesn't tell me. If she doesn't tell me, then I can't have any positive thoughts about it, right? So it can't be due to positive thinking. It has to be due to something else. So they did a whole study like this. It was for everybody that entered a hospital for a 6-month period. It was over 1,200 people. They prayed for half, didn't pray for the other half. Nobody knew they were in a research study, and the doctors and nurses didn't even know they were in a research study. So there could be no kind of interference anywhere. And guess what? Same results. So this blew a lot of people's minds because it was kind of throwing out the idea that it's just positive thinking. So they did another one from Columbia in New York. And this one was an interesting twist. They had, first of all, they were praying for people in Korea. So somehow the prayers had to go through molten rock and whatever else in the middle of the world and arrive at the right person in Korea. And the other interesting twist, it was a women's in vitro fertilization clinic, women trying to get pregnant. And again, the women didn't know they were being prayed for. And what they found is the women who were being prayed for had a 50% greater chance of getting pregnant than the women who weren't being prayed for. Brings up a whole new dimension to the idea of immaculate conception, but we won't touch that one here. So now what we've kind of learned about prayer, but the spookiest thing about prayer, this is really interesting. The energy waves in our brain don't get past our skull bones. There's no energy, electromagnetic fields or anything that can account for somebody praying even 20 feet away, much less thousands of miles away, and how they influence us. It's one of those spooky action at a distance kind of thing, one of those quantum kind of things. Okay? Same with the meditation research. Meditation research is the one I did. In fact, I did the first studies way back in the 1980s. And what we did is we had groups of transcendental meditators, and we'd be sitting there meditating, and things like crimes would go down, auto accidents would go down, even suicides would go down. We did a bunch of these studies, and they were all significant. Even more amazing, we got them published in mainstream journals. And so in I think it was 1992, we went into Washington, D.C. right after President Clinton had been elected. And we wanted to demonstrate to the world that we could do it. We took 4,000 meditators in there, and we were going to see if we could change the crime rates. And so what we did is we all, and in the movie they talked about this, so I'm kind of paraphrasing some things they may not have said in the movie. But anyway, there were a whole bunch of people we were all sitting in a big, huge ballroom. We get there about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, meditate till about 1, then we go from about 3 till, take a break, and then come back at 3 and go to about 7. Now, in advance, we told the mayor, it was Mayor Barry, he was the cocaine mayor. He was clean then, but he'd been rehabilitated. And then we went to, and then we told the police chief, we told the newspapers, everybody. And if it didn't work, they would have poo-pooed all of our other research. But it did. It went down, the crime rates went down over 23% during that 6-week period we were there. And everybody always asked me how we did it. I mean, you must have been thinking about crimes, right? In order to reduce crimes, you have to be thinking about. You can't reduce crimes without thinking about crimes, can you? He says yes. He's right. I'm going to give you this. Oh, you take over. I'm going to go take a break. That's good. That's good. Brilliant. Actually right. We never once thought about crimes. We never once thought about crimes. We got out of the way. We let the divine flow through us. It became a channel. Because when you want something, what are you attracting? Lack, because you don't have it. Exactly. Brilliant. You don't have it. So, and this is by the way, I came across this from one of the ministers in St. Louis, from Science of Mind. Ernest Holmes said this many times. People would ask him, let's go pray about something. He said, no, let's go sit in silence. Brilliant. That's exactly what we did. God already knows what you want. You don't need to do anything. In fact, when you think you're doing the wrong thing, you go up here in the left hemisphere, which takes you away from the flow, which we'll talk about in just a minute or two. But yeah, so it's surrender. Surrender is the ultimate, because you can't get to the quantum by trying to get there. It doesn't work. So now, so the next group of research studies was even more far out in a kind of weird way. Is a psychic study. And this group of studies happened by accident. There's a bunch of TVs lined up and people in front of the TVs, and the goal was to guess in advance which photograph was going to come up on the screen. And the people couldn't guess in advance, but one of the photos was positive, one of the photos was negative, so that's how they delineated. The negative photo, however, was very negative. It was people in morgues, so very gruesome kinds of things. And as chance would have it, if there is such a thing as chance, the researchers decided to hook people up to a GSR machine because they wanted to see what would happen every time they saw this very gruesome photo. And a GSR machine is similar to a lie detector. It measures anxiety in the body. And what they anticipated was there'd be a spike of anxiety every time the negative photo was presented. But guess what? There wasn't a spike of anxiety after the negative photo. It happened before the negative photo was presented. Which is, in other words, our body knew it was going to happen before it happened. Remember that old adage, I knew it in my gut? A lot of truth to that. So nobody believed the study, so they redid it in an independent laboratory. Same results. Then they looked inside the brain. The whole brain would light up with anxiety about 4 seconds before the negative photo was presented, but not before the positive one. In other words, we have cosmic stuff going on inside our body right now. It's a matter of tuning into it. And this, by the way, that study was replicated 2 years ago by a very famous psychologist by the name of Dr. Bem. He actually got it published in the Journal of Social Psychology. And he did it study 10 times. 9 of them came out significant. And the journal editors have this big, huge thing at the top. They said, well, we're going to print this study, but we don't believe it. How can you know things are going to happen before they happen? It doesn't make any sense. Maybe you can help us figure out what he did wrong, because we can't figure out what he did wrong. So meanwhile, psychology is going through a turmoil right now. Personally, I think it's a good thing. Psychology is finally entering the quantum age, beyond time, space limitations. Okay? Now, the last group of studies, even more far out, the group from Princeton. This group, they had a brilliant idea. If our consciousness is quantum-based, let's build a machine which is quantum-based and see if they can interact with each other. And that's what they did. They built a machine using cosmic radiation, which is left over from the Big Bang. It's as good a quantum as you can get. It's constant. You can run atomic clocks by it. It's very reliable. So the output from the machines was basically 101010. Then they took college freshmen and had them concentrate on the machine to see if they could change the output from 1010 to 111 or 000. They did find significance, but it happened after hundreds of thousands of trials. So the effect was very, very weak. Personally, I don't know how they managed it anyway, because I remember when I was a freshman in college, I could barely get out of bed, much less influence a quantum field random number generator. So, but they got these kids to do it. And then they had a brilliant idea. Let's put 4 or 5 of them together and see if the effect is stronger. And that's what they found. The more people doing it, the stronger the effect. And so then they put the machines all over the world. And what they found was every time we do something together, like watch the opening ceremonies of the Olympics, machines go crazy. Instead of 1010, they do 111 or 000. Remember the Katrina, the tsunami, the OJ trial verdict. They have like 250 of these episodes on their website. Well, the machines were going on during 9/11. 2 amazing things happened during 9/11. First of all, the machines went crazy for 4 straight days. Nothing like that's been seen before. But the truly amazing thing was the machine started going crazy 4 hours before 9/11 actually happened. That means our collective consciousness knew it was going to happen before it happened. Mind-boggling kind of stuff. So, what can we conclude by all this stuff? Well, I got 4 conclusions. We could probably come up with a bunch more, but these are the most important ones. First of all, life after death. If our consciousness is quantum-based, which means beyond time, space limitations, it's not brain-based. That means a part of our consciousness stays alive after the brain dies. If it's beyond time, space limitations, it's not brain-based. That's what the implications are. This is huge. There's roundabouts. This is about as good as science can do at this point with discovering life after death. This is exciting. This is one of the most important things we can face in this lifetime. In fact, this has been the age-old quest for humanity for thousands of years. We got the proof now. The second major conclusion is we're all connected. There's no way our consciousness in here could influence the outside world unless we're somehow connected. This is huge. Jill Bolte Taylor, Dr. Taylor, neuroscientist from Harvard. She had a stroke that shut down her left hemisphere. Instead of being in agony, she was in ecstasy. She had the traditional mystical experience. Now, what is the left hemisphere? That's the part that always analyzes everything and intends and wants and always, the constant monkey brain chatter that goes on in your head. And it shut down. She said something that was really fascinating. She said for the first time in her life, she wasn't alone. For the first time in her life, she wasn't alone. She felt connected with everybody. Huge, huge, huge. We're all connected. We just have to get out of the way. We have to get out of the way. But here's the other part of this equation, which is the third major conclusion. We're not helpless. If we want to change the outside world, we don't have to change the outside world. We just have to change our inner world. You want to stop the wars and the negative thoughts? Stop them in here. Because we're creating it. We are creating it. And we're doing a good job of creating something special. Just the other day, there was a study done on gay marriage. 65% of the people in America are now for it. Just 2 years ago, 65 were against it. And all of our presidents were against it. There's been a shift in the collective consciousness. It didn't happen through politics. There wasn't a bunch of people demonstrating. There's been a shift. We are responsible for that shift. When you come in here, we meditate together. That's what's helping change the collective consciousness. It's happening. We're moving in the direction of greater compassion and greater love. I can think of 1,000 different things that are demonstrating that. So it's actually a great time to be alive. And lastly, but not least, everybody in here has doubts at one time or another. Everybody. It's so refreshing to be living in a time when science is proving spirituality and washing away these doubts. It's the most exciting time that I've ever been alive. Thank you so much for inviting me. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate that. I want to say a couple words about the seminars we're going to be doing the next couple of days. It's a 2-day seminar, but if you can't make both days, you're welcome to come to one. We'll be teaching you how to manifest the life of your dreams. One of the questions I've always asked the people that take my seminars, and I've taught over 30,000 New Thought churches, 30,000 people personally, and I always ask them, how many people know what their problems are, but they keep making the same mistakes over and over again? Right, so it's not your fault. These are old brain pathways. So what we're going to do is, most of these brain pathways happen in our subconscious. As a matter of fact, Bruce Lipton and Deepak Chopra both said, unless we can get to the subconscious, these energy techniques, including tapping, won't be that effective. So what we're going to do is we're going to teach you how to clear out the subconscious blocks. clear them out. We're going to give you techniques to do that. So it'll be healing and manifestation, showing you how to use these techniques. We're going to be giving you a quantum-based manifestation technique, which is learning how to surrender to achieve what you want to get. So it'll be a different kind of orientation than most manifestation classes. So we'll use these techniques to help us get in the state. So we'll be in a higher state of consciousness. We're going to be actually using love, but we're going to use love when we're in a higher state of consciousness. Because when you send love, you're coming from a place of abundance. So instead of wanting, we shift it all around, going from abundance. So that's what we're going to do, teach you these techniques. And if you can't make either of the 2 days, it's ideally both days is for, I think, $49 or 1 day for $39. You do get a bunch of stuff with it, workbooks and DVD and all kinds of neat stuff. But if you can't make either of the days, then try to come early tomorrow if you can't make today. Tomorrow it's at 5:30. 6:30 is the normal time, but if you can't make today, come early tomorrow at 5:30 so we can catch you up. And we also have CDs and DVDs you can use for that. I'm also going to be doing some personal sessions if anybody would like one in the next few days. So I'm excited about doing these seminars, and we'll look forward to talking to you after church. Thank you so much.